What about Flacco, dude?
Fucking stud, dude.
Like that was the
nowhere.
best story of the year, was watching this, 68-year-old dude like that can barely stand up come on the field and like actually throw bombs. It was cool. I'll tell you what, I would love to drop Mac Jones and pick up Joe Flacco for the Pats.
But no, I wanted to talk to you about the 615 house. Did you start that? I mean, what? Give me the rundown on that for those of us who don't know, because I've heard great things. Riley's told me about this. I knew who you were probably 2 or 3 months ago. Riley had that dialogue with me about you and the things you had going on, and I was like, oh man, that's sweet. So I just kind of wanted a little understanding.
It's crazy because it kind of came as a result of COVID. It started in 2020, and at the time I was an artist. I was having a bunch of meetings for record deals and booking agencies, and we were all set to go on this tour, and then COVID hits, right? You're like, what the fuck do I do? So I called up a good friend of mine, Ashley Cook, who's now signed over at Big Loud Records in Nashville, and her and I were both kind of just like venting to each other, like, what are we going to do during this time? Like, we have nothing going on, but we need to keep, promoting ourselves and our music. And so, we kind of just came together with the idea of like, let's get 8 artists together. These were our friends that were also like active online and trying to build a following.
Yeah.
And we like, I don't know, we took some shitty COVID tests and like rented a space in like the Germantown, East Nashville area. And we just like got together and started, singing together and promoting each other. And like, you wake up the next day, and we were really early on TikTok, and that was kind of our main platform. So you like wake up the next day and our phones are all like nonstop buzzing.
Fucking nuts.
I have like friends that I haven't talked to in years, like in different cities across the country. They're like, dude, like I keep seeing your shit pop up on my like TikTok feed.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And like from there, it's, we're now three years old and like still rocking and rolling, man. So
That's so cool though that you like really saw COVID and you're like, okay, like we got to figure something out here. We're not just gonna sit around. We're not just gonna fucking do nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I'll tell you, man. I think when COVID hit, there were 2 options for people, right? Option 1 is like, I'm gonna pack it up. I'm gonna go back home, and I'm gonna tap out. And then option 2 is like, saddle the fuck up, figure out what you're gonna do. And for a lot of us, it was connecting with people online, and building this like massive digital fan base. And then the cool part is like, now that we're, past COVID and live events are really in full swing, it's cool to see these artists like go on the road and actually meet these people that were watching them for so many months when we're all locked in our houses,
Nashville's such a cool place. We spend a lot of time in Los Angeles, and like you come out here and it's like the biggest breath of fresh air that you've ever experienced. Yeah. Because you don't get the fake bullshit. There are a lot of people out here coming here from LA.
Ton of people coming from LA.
But, I've been pretty fortunate thus far. I mean, Tito, obviously, that's different, But like with people like you, or like even the people that we've just had the privilege, Riley, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Those guys, everybody that's kind of been around here for a little bit and getting to see the scene and what it's all about and what the music is. And, you meet a lot of really cool people. So for you, is that a big reason why you like being in Nashville? Is that like really part of it for you?
Yeah, I've been to LA a bunch, and look, I'm not going to shit on LA, but it's different, right? It's very flashy. There's a lot of politics.
Fuck LA.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fuck it. But I have to go out there from time to time. Like, it is what it is. I think the cool part about Nashville is there is that just like community aspect. Like, people are kind of like, what are you doing? Okay, let's link arms. Let's like work together and, collaborate. And that part of it felt very, I guess, just real to me. I think a lot of people, like, you find your circles. Like, a big thing of Nashville is you find the people that you fuck with, and you write music and you record and you promote or whatever. And then when one person rises to the top, you kind of all rise with them, right? So we see this. I'd say the best example is Morgan, Wallen, Hardy, and Ernest, right? And all that Big Loud camp. Like, those people are like, they were all homies before Morgan took off. And then Morgan's now, biggest country artist on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And all these guys are like seeing the success with it because they've kind of built this like, this close-knit circle. So I do think like that's part of what we're trying to build, is like just like, keeping those connections, like staying close to the people you really believe in, because then it doesn't become about whether I win, it becomes about whether we win. And I think that's really important and why Nashville is really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you just said that, because it's so true, man. Because even when you're, and I think that aspect, I think you indirectly just hit my point of why I don't like LA.
Yeah.
Because you don't have that out here. You're out there. There's the camaraderie out here where I could be like, don't know you, be like, hey, you want to do a podcast? You got to go out to LA a little bit. People maybe give you a little bit of a funny look, like, well, who are you? This and that. And I get it.
They run all your credentials, bro.
Yeah,
they're like
100%.
checking everything. They're looking at the exact amount of followers. Like, is it going to work? Like,
is it
for
worth
my
it
agenda?
for me? Yeah, 100%. And so we've gotten a couple people. I mean, you know how it is. You do some shitty interviews. Sometimes people suck, right? But
exactly.
Finding that tribe out here, I think, is really, really crazy and a really good thing.
Yeah, it's great. Although I will say, on the flip side of it, Nashville is growing like crazy, dude. The amount of bachelorette parties and like crap that happens on Broadway, it's so bad too. Like, I live a mile and a half away from Broadway, and so like every single weekend I feel like somebody's hitting me up that's like visiting from out of town, and they're like, dude, we're on Broadway, we got a bunch of girls with us, like we're hanging out. I'm like, don't tell me. Look, I'm a single guy, like, as are a lot of my friends, and we're just looking to have a good time, so it's fun. But there's a lot of the tourism, and I think like a lot of people moving here is definitely changing the culture. So there's a lot of people where I feel like there's like the like old town-y guys that are like, don't mess with my city. Like, this is the root of country music. Like, all other genres get out. Like, all these tourists get out. And then there's the people that are embracing the change. And I think like that's really interesting to watch.
It is. I've heard both sides. I've heard people from Nashville be like, fuck all these people moving here. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. And then I think we're in like that weird space though, where I get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's just more people here. There's more fun things to do. There's, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But yeah, man, I mean, Nashville's fucking beautiful.
It is.
I goddamn love it out here, bro. No, on Broadway, I don't really like going down to Broadway because it is super touristy, right? Mm-hmm. But is that where you like to hang out kind of, or is it?
No.
It's not your cup of tea.
Well, when I first moved here, I went to Broadway more than I want to admit. There's a reason why people go to Broadway, but after a while, like, becomes the kind of the same cover songs, the same scene, and I think like there's a lot of cool local spots that are popping up. Like East Nashville has a lot of great dive bars, and
everybody was telling me that last night.
Dude, you gotta go to East Nashville, man. It's like there's some awesome spots there. We go to this place called Pearl Diver, which is like a cool kind of vibey spot. There's like patio in the back, you can hang out, have a little fire, and like to me, that's where you meet more, I think, like creatives and like-minded people. So when you're going out to like have some drinks, maybe do a little networking, like that's a good spot, right? If you're like trying to, rail back 15 Miller Lights and listen to Wagon Wheel and like have a one-night stand, I would probably go to Broadway. So there you go.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
No, does Live It Out here? You're a single guy. I'm a single guy. So do you also? Is it hard in your space because you're doing music, you're podcasting, you're collaborating with a lot of people, you're doing a lot of creative things, but you're probably busy a lot, right?
Yeah.
Does that make dating a little bit harder for you out here?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of my friends will say the same thing. Like when we're all in music because we're so passionate about it. And so you're driving 12 hours to play some shitty gig on the weekend just to like level up. And that takes time away from, I think, having like a serious, like committed relationship. So I know a lot of people struggle to like, I don't know, really like invest in a relationship. And then the other side of it is like when I'm looking like to date someone, dating in the industry can be very scary because you're running around the same group of friends, like rumors are going to spread. And then also if like, it does go south and you break up, then like, how do you know she's not going to like tarnish your reputation or like, get in some trouble? So that part of it's like a little weird. I've seen some people that have had that happen to them.
I get more of like the look, oh, you have a podcast look, and some of these girls are just not digging it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I get it. You know what I mean? Maybe a little bit because they don't want, their boy out there talking shit. Right. I enjoy it. So like that kind of leads me to this. You started when did you start your podcast?
Yeah, so I started a podcast with iHeart probably 6, maybe 9 months ago now at this point. It kind of came from a place where I was having conversations with my peers and other artists where they were talking about the struggles of, what it's like to be an artist, right? Because as an artist, you're the CEO of your own brand, right? So you have to you're calling the shots, and that includes, like, in today's world, it's writing, recording. It's also constantly like posting on social media, right? And like we really wanted to get into the trenches of like, what is it like to be an artist? What's your journey been in Nashville? And like kind of just hear the stories from artists themselves outside of just, I think, like 1 10-second video on TikTok.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So that's been really fun. And I had a lot of good friends on it, and it doesn't feel like when we shoot, it's not really like we're like, oh, the cameras are on, it's a podcast. It's more like, oh, we're just hanging out, having a good time, and this is like a conversation that people can kind of.
I love that. Yeah, you're easy to talk. That's what I try to do. I try to always keep it a conversation,
Yeah.
And I think that's like it kind of occupies its own special space when you do that, right? Because then you're like here to make a friend versus like, let me grill you with 25 fucking questions.
Exactly.
From like a mental health standpoint, when you're out here and you're working with all these different people and you're kind of probably getting pulled in every which direction, right? So what do you do to kind of level yourself out and kind of keep yourself in check as far as like from a mental health standpoint and how you're feeling? And, because I'm sure you go through times where there's like a lot of highs and then a lot of, some lows too, right?
Dude, that's, I think every artist's career is like a roller coaster, right? Like you'll have one high. Maybe it's your first sold out show or a record does really well. And then the next day you just get beaten up and put right back in the ground. And really a lot, it's the ability to be able to roll with the highs and lows and move forward. And I think a lot of artists struggle with that. I'm a big advocate for, people taking time to themselves. I know a lot of people like, maybe it's therapy or some sort of like, just like a person to kind of vent to. I think that's really important. We live lives where we're constantly working and always thinking about how we can do better. And it's also just like, a big time commitment, right? When you're on the road or when you're writing songs and doing like your day is so full that I think sometimes you forget to just like chill out and be a normal person. And so what I've started to do is just like take a few hours for myself, maybe it's on a given weekend or like, I recently just went on a trip by myself for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Kind of, I don't know. Some people don't like to travel by themselves. And I think I was always a little like hesitant to do that because I'm a social guy. Like I don't like being alone. And I think that process was really cool for me because I just got to kind of like digest everything going on in my life and really figure out like, am I doing what I want to be doing, or am I just doing it because, I'm chasing something that other people have told me or that like, seems superficial?
Yeah.
And I think that process was really rewarding.
Where'd you go?
So I went on a trip to North Carolina. You ever been to Asheville?
No, but I've heard of Asheville many a time.
Yeah. So I was, I just went out and like hung out there, like just went on some hikes. It was cool. I play a lot of acoustic gigs. And so, I would always be traveling by myself. But when you're playing a show or, I don't know, doing an interview, there's always like an agenda, right? So I'm like, oh, I got to play this show and then I got to meet this person. And like, for once, I just kind of like stopped and, was like, all right, I'm going to take a day, 2 days and just chill out. It was beautiful, man.
You need that though. I think everybody needs that. And I know we were talking a little bit before, but like when you're out in these different areas and you have the space to party, and then you also have the space where you could be like, well, I need to work, right? And that's where sometimes I struggle with it, where it's like, I want to go have the fun, I want to go do those great things. You're with great people, you're with cool people, you're doing your thing, but like when it's time to work, it's time to work. Dude, you got to set that shit aside.
You have to, man. It's such a tough industry because you have relationships that are so important, and then you also have the creativity and like the actual productivity that goes into writing and recording and making a song, right? And I think a lot of people like find themselves going out to events to shake hands, and then all of a sudden you're like 6 drinks deep and your next morning is scrapped, and that is dangerous. But at the same time, if you're boxed in a room and you're only writing songs and you're not actually meeting teams and people that could help you market yourself or get you the next opportunity, then you're also at a loss, right? So I feel like this like it's a really hard thing to balance, and I think most artists or music industry professionals like would agree that it just takes time to kind of figure that out and find like who's championing you and who's supporting you, and then also, when can I say no, right? I think that's a really hard thing that a lot of artists struggle with. Like, you just want to take opportunities, right? You want to do stuff, but at some point you have to set aside time, and I think saying no is like really powerful.
It is. I agree with that. I've had a couple I've said no to doing interviews with, probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And it was simply because it was like, I don't have the time, or I don't want to interview you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's true. But like, you had spoken earlier about kind of finding your people when you're here in Nashville. And I think I've found my people. I have a really great friend group down here.
Yeah.
And so I feel like super fortunate of that. I like, from a mental health standpoint, for me, that feels good when I'm here.
Right.
But I always wonder, and I'm sure you maybe you'd be a good person to ask, like, do you feel like Nashville, from a music standpoint, has that same aura around it where like it kind of chews people up and spits people out that don't make it, kind of like that Los Angeles scene does? Because I could just get a different vibe out here about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone thinks it's not easy to be an artist or be in this industry. Like, like we were talking about, you're gonna get beaten up, and somebody is going to get that spot that you think you deserve, or the opportunity that you work so hard for. And I think, like, they say it's a 10-year town in Nashville, and I think the reason why they put that timestamp on it is because it takes that amount of time to like be honing in on your craft, finding the right people, dealing with the losses, and then continuing. And I feel like those that just outwork and continue to stick around are the ones that like reap the rewards, and it's very rare like somebody moves to Nashville and 3 months later they like have a record deal and are crushing it, right? Like, right. And a lot of people think it's that overnight success because if you're watching something online, you don't know all the time and energy that goes into it. I just think it's the people that are able to like kind of just saddle up and deal with the hate or the tough moment and be like, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, this is what it is. I'm gonna keep it rocking.
I try to encourage. I try to have those conversations with my friends, and I'm sure you probably do as well, because some days artists just get beaten up, man, and they just need somebody to talk to. And like, if you can serve as a place of encouragement and kind of be there, and that's why I talk about the circle thing, right? Having people that you can really have like honest conversations with, I think is so critical.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was talking to a girl last night. I asked her, she like had moved from Chicago down here. And I was like, why'd you move? And she like kind of shamefully said like, oh, music, And I was like, why did you say it like that?
Yeah.
I was like, are you here for that? Because if that's what you're here for, you should be proud of yourself. Right? And I see exactly where that could be, because you do hear it a lot. Obviously, we're in Nashville. Everybody's like kind of doing something with music. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, I felt so bad for this girl last night. So
why do you think she was like, like shamefully admitting it? Do you think like maybe things hadn't been going well for her, or she like didn't want to talk about it?
It seemed like so this is what I got out of it. Basically, she's in one of these situations where she's dating a guy or like seeing a guy that is also in music, and she can't see past life without him being part of her music, right? So like, you see what I'm saying?
That's
like
brutal.
It's brutal, right? So like now she's like hooked up on this dude or whatever. So I was sitting there, we were having a little quick therapy session last night, just letting her talk about it. But like, I felt bad because I'm like, man, when someone asks me what I do, or like even when I asked you what you do, like you're just like, this is what I do, baby. This is, I love this.
Yeah.
So here's another one for you. There are some sexy women in Nashville. Is that distracting for you at all, or have you been like pretty good at navigating it?
I will say I think I'm just like pretty honed in on what I'm doing, so maybe it's not as distracting now as it once was, but it's always tempting, dude. I have some friends that have just been like through the gauntlet when it comes to the girls that they're meeting, numbers, per month that are astronomically high.
Yeah.
I think it's tough, particularly I found, when you're an artist and you have success, It's a funny thing. Your DMs become way more popular when you have a song that's doing well or when you have a tour that's like really cool, right? And so a lot of people can't resist that temptation. And then I think, the part that kind of I've seen kind of fuck a lot of people up is, well, are they in it because they actually care about you, or are they in it because like you're just some hot shot, right?
Yeah, good
and like a
people or
lot of
whatever it
times,
might be.
a lot of times people, that's cool. If you want to go out, have a good time, and like party it up, that's cool. But if you're also trying to like settle down and find a girl, that's very hard to do, particularly when that success.
When I have a girlfriend, I dial myself back big time, because I'm like, all right, because I like dating a chick that like doesn't like what like partying and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have somebody, but I just don't feel like I'm gonna find that out here.
Yeah. Well, man, or just you got to get out of the industry, man. You need like a nice nurse that can just take care of you.
No, dude.
Be on time.
I'm from Cleveland, and everybody's a nurse. My ex is a doctor, and yeah, man, I'm out on the medical field. I'm leaving the medical field as far as the dating game goes.
Okay.
So we're not gonna go into the music industry though.
Yeah. So what, you got a field you're trying to get into?
No, it's not a field we're trying to get into.
Yeah.
It's we're just not trying to. I've just had bad luck. Right, but I like dating above me, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I like somebody that like kind of pushes me a little bit.
Yeah, I like shooting. I like shooting for people just
like intelligence is sexy to me,
right?
Versus like, oh, you have a hot body. I'd rather date maybe not a 6, but like a 7 with like that's smart as fuck versus like a 10 who's retarded. Yeah. So
what's that trend that's like if she's a 10 but she whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if she's a 10 but she can't.
Yeah, she's a 10. But her pussy stinks. Like,
it's just tough. Dude, I actually,
she's a 2.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she is.
I actually agree with you. This is probably something about my background, but like, I'm from Boston, so I'm very used to the Northeastern girl, which is a lot of them are very intelligent, very independent, and a lot of them do not put up with bullshit.
No.
And they tell you when you're doing something wrong, or they like, well, if you're throwing shade, they'll throw it back. And I found that that's a big difference between a lot of the Southern women that are up here, which is, they're beautiful and very nice, but they don't have that edge to them.
No.
But then there's the girls up in New England, and you do that, and everyone says, oh, they're a bitch,
I think it's all about how you take it, though. Like, because you're from that space, that New England area.
So I love it. Like, I want somebody that's gonna like poke fun at me.
Yeah,
and
me
it's
too.
Like I need to be able to joke around with somebody, and they can joke back. And if you can't take it, then like, it ain't.
You got to go.
It ain't it.
Yeah, you got to go. What are the next 6 months of your life looking like? Like, what you have like some goals, like short term stuff that you're trying to rock out with, like sooner than later?
I think I'm really invested in helping educate artists on their career. I think we're at a very interesting time where there's a lot of power to the independent artists. I'm very excited about. I think there's a lot of ways that you can leverage social media and sort of the right team to be able to further yourself without maybe some massive major label coming into play, right? At the same time, the major labels are great and they do good things for a lot of artists, but like, I'm just excited about helping this new developing class of talent. And so one of the things that we try to do, I talk about it on my podcast, we talk about it on our channels, is like just helping artists navigate where they're trying to go. And when I say education, it's both education of the business, right? And like making sure they're aware of how everything operates, but also education to like, in the mental health space, right? And like being able to have those conversations, say like, look, this is going to happen, or if you're dealing with this, like, let's talk about it and let's figure out, how to move forward. So I guess I'm just like really excited about, diving into the people that I really care about in my circle and just helping elevate them.
I love that. I love that you're all about that. And like it seems like that's almost like the base of what you do. Right, like that's what it was built on, right? Like, yeah, it came through COVID, of course, but like it's built on. I want to help. I want to be great, but I want everybody to be great around me.
Right.
What a good feeling that's for you,
dude. It's a great feeling, man. Like like I said, like yes, I want to win myself, but if it's not going to be me, I sure hope it's somebody close in my camp.
Yeah, of course.
And that's that's been the blessing of this project and sort of all the new relationships and things we have going on and. I'm pumped about it, man. And my goal is just I'm waiting for somebody in my camp to be the one that plays Bridgestone Arena or Red Rocks or whatever. And I think like it's very cool. Like, man, it ain't cool until it's cool, right?
Man, it isn't. Yeah,
and
it's
like,
the truth though, for real.
And like really getting in early and like finding and helping out that person that then goes on and does it. You know, there's a part of me that just wants to kind of give everyone the bird and be like, fuck
of
y'all.
Course.
I found it before you did, right? And like that excites me, man. That gets me pumped.
But you manifest it, and I do the same thing because like it's, you know, you even say like, hey, somebody playing Bridgestone Arena or Red Rocks, right? Obviously that's a thought that comes through your head, and I'm sure you've had that thought of you coming out and playing those shows, you know. And I feel like when you manifest that and just continue to grind, like you will get there.
Yeah.
You know, you have a great personality, you know what I mean? Like you seem to know what you're talking about. So it's like you keep,
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. me too, you know. I'm never wrong, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that, man. I love that you're manifesting that. And Red Rocks, that would be crazy.
Dude, Red Rocks is like I feel like it's the cop out answer everyone says for like favorite place to play, but there's a reason. It's just like you're in the most beautiful place. Yeah. Like, you know, it's so intimate. It's a great spot, dude. I've been to a couple shows out there now, and like to your point of manifesting, like, yeah, I just like you just see it, and like every day you just try to get a step closer, you know.
Yeah, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Is there who's your favorite artist right now?
Man, that's a great question. Any particular genre or just
yeah, we'll stick with country.
Yeah, I'll say like on the sort of the developing space, I love there's a guy from Louisiana, Graham Barham, who's a really close friend of mine. I got to work with him a little bit, and he's now working with Sony Music on an album. I think he's fantastic. Another girl, Abby Anderson, who she's been in town for a while, but she had some success, and then I think she wanted to kind of pivot her artistry in a different direction. And I, fortunately, am a good friend of hers, so I've been able to kind of watch that process. Yeah. And it's awesome, dude. Like some of this new music she's writing, it just feels really authentic. And like when the artist is so fired up about it, that fires me up. So I love them, man. You know, this girl, Ella Langley, I think is fantastic. Dylan Marlowe's great. Just a lot. Connor Smith just put out an album. He's fantastic. I don't know. There's just like a really exciting young class of talent. Like these like, you know, 25, 26-year-olds that have been here for a couple years and like have found their sound. And it just fires me up, dude. But
yeah, that's the best though,
you know?
Because like for you, when you get excited about it, it's like that makes you a better friend then, right? I love that when you get people like pumped about that. Like I can see why you have a successful podcast. Like you're great on conversations and stuff.
Oh, dude, I love it,
man. Crush it,
you know.
Man.
I just think like it's cool. Like, you know, you go around town and everyone's like, "Man, like listen to my tunes or whatever." And so you throw it on in the car, and sometimes I'm like, "Ugh, this sucks," right? But like. There are times like when like I'm gonna drive back home right after this, and I'm gonna crank up, you know, whatever, some Graham Barham record.
Yeah.
And like he's my friend, but I'm just doing it because it's damn good music. And like when that happens, dude, it's so cool because it's no longer like some, I don't know, just like friend supporting friend thing. It's like, no, your music's really that great, you know.
That's an important thing, and I think that's anywhere you go with any craft somebody's in. If it's your friend, when I have been in that space once where I've heard like somebody's song that I know, and I'm like sitting there listening to it, and I lose sight of the fact that that's even, you know, my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand, like, well, I got this friend, Chloe Caroline. She's a great singer.
Yeah.
And she's out in L.A. She lived out here, actually, for a while.
Oh, nice.
And, but she's got some music, man, and I'll listen to that. And, like, I don't even have to, you know what I mean? You're not even thinking about it. You're like, damn, she's fucking good, though, when I get done with it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I always get fucking really, really, really excited about that. You said you do a lot of acoustic guitar. Is that your big thing?
It was for a while. Crazy story, but when I was 13 years old, my dad took me to a local open mic and signed me up without me knowing. At the time, I wanted to kill him. I almost peed my pants. But that's how I started, and it was me on an acoustic guitar. And over the years, like I've played with bands, and you know I've written songs myself, and you know, still the love for me is just like grabbing an acoustic guitar and you know singing records either that I love or records that I wrote. And so every summer I go back to New England and I do a run of shows up there, and it's like old friends and fans and family, and we just like we have a good time. It's like I don't know, it's just good weather up there. You know, you have like, you know, a couple beers with like just close friends, and I'm just playing acoustic songs. I do a lot of like backyard shows, which just it's a blast, man. So, I think regardless of where all the business and podcast stuff takes me, like I'm still always going to do that.
As you should. As you should. I mean, and so you're from the Boston area, so are you a sports fan?
Yeah, I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, well, I'm just kind of curious, So like Red Sox, are you like diehard New England? Are you Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics?
I'm Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics, and Bruins, and I'm very fortunate that I had 6 years with Tom Brady, 6 rings with Tom Brady. I will tell you right now,
he said that.
Mac Jones fucking sucks.
Mac Jones sucks dick.
I'm out on him, dude. I've been out on him. I feel bad for the kid because he came up there and like New England's a brutal place to play. Like if you don't perform, you're out, right? And we don't take mediocrity. But he's got to go.
He sucks. I mean, he really does. But then again, I'm a Browns fan, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't get worse than that. With that being said, I hate that we have Deshaun Watson, right?
Yeah.
Because all I'm saying, if 2 girls say, hey, you did something wrong, whatever, we could sit here and speculate that just maybe they set him up, right? Kind of like the Trevor Bauer situation. But like 22 chicks, you fucked up. You did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, multiple times, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not a great look for the franchise and for the organization that you want to root for. So
No,
you're kind of in a catch-22 there, man.
Yeah, it's just kind of it makes it really hard to root for that.
Have you started have you bandwagoned any other team?
No, I can't say I have. I really love the Browns, and I really want to love the Browns. But when you make decisions like that, it makes it really hard. I can deal with losing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But, that's like, I mean, there's a lot of fans out there that are just like, this is crazy. Like, you gave someone $230 million to just rape like 30 chicks.
Right? Well, what about Flacco, dude?
Fucking stud, dude.
Like that was the best story of the year was watching this, 68-year-old dude like that can barely stand up come on the field and like actually throw bombs. It was cool. I'll tell you what, I would love to drop Mac Jones and pick up Joe Flacco for the Pats.
Flacco, he did really well. I think what was really refreshing from a Browns fan standpoint or just a football fan standpoint is just seeing the simple basic mechanics be flawlessly executed. Right? Like the simple stuff like stepping up in the pocket, right? Understanding when to scramble, understanding when to sit in there. Where you get guys like Watson or, our other shitty quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You could just name 30 of them in the last couple of years, but
well, it's a new style of play, dude. I think Mahomes or Lamar Jackson does it so well, right? But running around and kind of scrambling to find success works for some people. Other people, they get in their head, and that's when you see them always throwing picks or getting injured and whatnot. And I think there is something true about just the fundamental passer, right? I think of Flacco, I don't think that dude's gonna run for 40 yards like Patrick Mahomes, but he's gonna sit back and throw the ball when he needs to.
When he came out of college, he had the strongest arm in the NFL. That's what they used to say. Yeah, they did a throwing competition. He was fucking right up there with it. Do you see a lot of athletes around here, like Titans players and
yeah,
stuff like that?
What's been super cool is DeAndre Hopkins has been around quite a bit. He's a fan of music, friends with a lot of the country artists, and it's been cool to kind of see him tap into the community. He actually did at a joint downtown. He did a trivia night the other night where he hosted it, which was really cool to see. You look at him making insane catches on the field, but the fact that he's also laid back and wants to just have some drinks and play trivia with people is really cool. So
that's cool when you see people in that space.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's this really cool thing between athletes and artists, right? Where I think a lot of artists wish that they could be an athlete, and I think a lot of athletes wish that they could sing or be an artist. And so there's been a really nice intersection in our space, just being able to work with. We've worked with a couple people on the Predators and Titans, and as we continue to work with artists, I really actually would love to bridge that gap. And I'm just a small player in it, but I do know other people in town are
But you're doing great things, man. I mean, between the house, the podcast, your own music, your supporting of your friends, I think that's. I mean, I find that to be so. I spent a lot of time in LA in the last year, man. And I find that that kind of stuff that you're doing to be the best kind of people I like to be around. just because I feel like I kind of align with that a lot more versus being like, I'm all about me. I'm only about me. You know, I want to see all that success. And then, you know, from the music standpoint, man, yeah, you're 100% right. Like people, you know, athletes want to sing, singers want to be athletes. I agree with that. Even for me, man, I would love to be able to sing. You don't want to hear that. Nobody here wants to hear that. But
hey, technology, AI, and auto-tune's pretty good these days.
Yeah, I believe that. So that's amazing. I know you got to bounce. So, but here's I always finish the podcast with one question. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy would you consider yourself to be? And if it's not a 10, what do you think you could do to get yourself to a 10 or closer to a 10?
That's a great question. You ask this on every podcast.
Yeah. I finished with it, yeah.
Damn, you're making me get deep right now.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, man. You know, my honest answer to that, I think, is probably an 8 out of 10. Okay. I think that I've been able to watch a lot of people succeed the past couple years. I've been able to surround myself with, like, a real cool community here in Nashville that I love. And I wouldn't trade. I don't want to work in any other space right now. So the fact that I get to do this is pretty great. You know, I think the way to get to a 10, right, I think it comes down to there's some things that I think, you know, as I mentioned, like I was doing that maybe I needed to take some time for myself to kind of like figure out why am I doing that and am I investing my time and energy sort of in the right places. And, you know, one of those things is like I have a lot of friends in other spaces too, right? And calling a friend and just like checking in on them or like taking a weekend trip with the boys to like, I don't know, play golf or do whatever. And like sometimes I push that aside because, you know, I'm focused on some small thing for, you know, a video or an artist or whatever. And so I think just balancing that is like always going to be a process. But I'll tell you what, man, like, we're in a good spot in 2024, and you know, I would just encourage like other people to do the same, man, because like life's too short, you know.
So short. I love that answer though. That's really cool, and I really think you should keep doing what you're doing, and like don't ever change that aspect about you that is so like, you know, you're taking care of yourself, but you are very aware and you do really care about the people around you, and I think that that's like good things happen to people doing good things.
For sure, man. For sure, dude. Well, I'm glad that we were able to do this. I know you're only in town for a couple days, but I see you're coming back.
Trust
right?
me.
Yeah, and this is like such a great spot to kick it and hang, dude. You know?
I hit Tito up. I was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing. You want to film it over here?" And I was like, "Duh."
Yeah.
You know, so that's the homie, and then Matt who rents the place. I mean, it's just
it's badass.
I'm blessed. Yeah, you got Mark. Fucking Riley,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but, dude. Well, no, you got a good crew of people, man.
I'm very
solid,
fortunate, man. And thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah,
I
dude,
know you're
for
busy
sure,
and
man.
Stuff like that, but we'll do this again because we're gonna be back. Mark and I keep talking about moving down here.
So. Yeah, dude, for sure. We should definitely do that. You know, I love podcasts as a chance to like get to know people better. But you know, oftentimes I think there are a lot of podcasts you have like a guest on, and then you know you don't see him for a while. And I think like it's cool to, you know, we got to keep in touch and do this
Definitely.
again, or you know, hop on mine one time. I'll hop back on this.
Let me know, man. I'm always down to hit a pod.
It's easy, dude. So, well, dude, I really appreciate it, and let's do it again soon.
You're the man. Thank you again.
Of course.
For real.